very quiet guy, said that his best friend had died over 20 years ago and he still had days where he missed him so much it hurt. You don't just get over something like that. Steve shut at that. Kay and my dad got back and she was in a much better mood. We all sat down at the table for our late lunch and started chatting. Everything was fine at first until Steve started trying to butt into Kay's conversation with my granddad. When it was obvious that they weren't going to include him, he very loudly stated, "This is bullshit. She's getting all the attention of everyone because her friend died 3 fucking years ago. Get over it for fuck's sake, we're all sick of hearing about it." The whole table went silent and I took one look at Kay and knew she was about to go off on Steve. Only it didn't happen the way I thought. Rather than exploding at him, she looked at him very calmly and said that her and Granddad weren't talking about Tess. They were making plans to take him to the Christmas markets, but if he wants to be a dick then no problem. She then went on to say to him that everyone in the family hates him because he's a toxic narcissistic fuckwad. That whenever he can't come to a family gathering the whole family is much happier. That there is a reason he has no friends and that his own family can't stand to be around him. That reason is that he's rotten from the inside out and that Tess may have only been on this planet for 32 years, but she made a bigger impact on people than he would have if he lived until he was 150. That her funeral was rammed with people because she was so loved, whereas he'd be lucky if anyone other than Sarah was at his. After that, she got up and went to the back garden and I followed her. A few minutes later my dad came out and said that he'd told Sarah and Steve to leave. We went back inside and Kay apologized to everyone and said she should have just kept her mouth shut. Everyone other than my mum told her what she had done was right and it was about time someone told him. My dad then found it hilarious that a lesbian had been the one to tell him straight, which lightened the mood a lot. We spent the rest of the afternoon there before going to pick Jack up from Kay's mom's house as she had had him overnight on Saturday for us. The reason I'm making this post is that yesterday I got a call from Sarah saying that she and Steve wanted an apology from Kay or they weren't going to Christmas. When I reminded her that we wouldn't be at Christmas either as it is our year to spend it with Kay's mom so it made no difference to us, she got really upset saying that she wanted an apology because Kay was way out of line. I said she wasn't and that I wouldn't even contemplate asking her to apologize because I agreed with everything she said and so did everyone else there. She ended the call and I just went back to work. Then today my dad called me and asked if Kay's mom would mind a few more for Christmas as he was refusing to spend it with Steve so he and my granddad needed someone else to go. Apparently after Sarah had called me she called mum and started ranting and my mum had told my dad to get Kay to apologize, which he said no to and they had an argument and my dad has now decided that he's done with Steve even if that affects his relationship with Sarah. He's not having it anymore. My mum wants Sarah there, and she won't go without Steve so my dad is going somewhere else and my granddad agreed with him. I texted Kay's mum and she said they were welcome so now my mum is furious and saying that my dad and Kay are ripping the family apart. So basically this has turned into a shit show. Kay has said she will apologize if I want her to, just to keep the peace but I've told her no way. Everything she said was true. I just don't know where to go from here and the people in my life all hate Steve so much that Kay could have physically attacked him and they would all still think she is in the right. So that's why I'm asking internet strangers who might have had to deal with difficult family members. What can we do to get into a place where we can be around each other amicably? I'm struggling to see a way right now. Wow, didn't realize how long this got until I went to post it. Sorry about that. Some of OOP's comments. Commenter. For things to be peaceful, both parties need to want it. Kay did nothing wrong. I wouldn't ever spend another moment with Steve. I would let Sarah know I love her and will see her anytime, anywhere, but I'll never see Steve again. If you have one guest that basically wants to shit on the holiday table, there's no path forward with them. OOP. If it was just Sarah upset, then I wouldn't care, but it's my mum. She tries so hard to keep the whole family together and she is devastated by what's going on. If it wasn't for her, then Sarah could go take a running jump for all I care right now. Sarah. This is the issue that Steve and Sarah don't see anything wrong in what he's done. It was just him being honest. I would be happier for her to apologize if Steve and Sarah admitted that what he said was in the wrong as well. Without that, I'm being stubborn about it. My dad told Kay he will fall out with her if she apologizes as she did nothing wrong. There was no screaming or shouting, she said it very calmly. I feel like I'm stuck between making my mum happy and doing what I believe to be right. To another commenter. My sister doesn't see anything wrong in what he says as he's just being honest, but loses it when someone is honest back. I don't understand her anymore. Mom. Taking the high road and rising above it have been two of my mum's favorite things to say to us over the years. I just feel like enough is enough. He crossed a line this time that he can't come back from. I especially don't want my son around him when he's saying things like that about Tess. To another commenter. If I hear my mom say take the high road one more time, I'm gonna scream. I'm sick of the high road. I've been on it for 8 years. I'm happy on the low road now. Later that day, OOP, well, I've just found out that my granny and pa, my mom's parents, are going to my uncle's for Christmas and Steve is not invited, so it looks like it's going to be just Mom, Sarah and Steve for Christmas this year. How OP feels about that? Vindicated, as my mom is like her parents, they're all peacekeepers, and if ever they have had enough, then it just shows that he's not just stepped over the line, he's ran right past it. Mom. Kay's mom has already told her that if she changes her mind, then she is welcome at her house. Even if it's Christmas morning, she is more than welcome. Obviously Steve and Sarah aren't invited at all, but it's good that my mom has the option at least. Later reflection. I have realized that he has been trying to target Kay and my dad's relationship as they're very close. They have traveled all over the country visiting class car shows together, which Steve has tried to get in on, but he doesn't know anything about cars, so there's no point in him going even if they did like him. I actually think he's been trying to push Kay and I out of the family so that he gets my dad to himself, even though my dad can't stand him. Update post. Hi, I know how much this community loves an update, so I thought I would give you one as things seem to be sorting themselves out, kind of. After I wrote my last post, a few things happened in the next couple of hours. First thing was that I spoke to my grandparents on my mom's side. They were there when this all happened, but they're like my mom and just constantly try to keep the peace. That's where she gets it from. They were supposed to be spending Christmas with my mom this year but had changed their minds and decided to spend it with my uncle instead. They have made the decision to not be around Steve either, as he causes too much drama. They asked if they could come and see us and Jack on the 23rd before they head off to my uncle's, which I happily agreed to. This really surprised me and it outright shocked my mom, as like I said, they are the biggest take the high road type people I've ever met, but even they'd had enough. The next thing that happened was my dad called to let me know that Steve and Sarah had now decided that they want Kay to make a public apology in front of the whole family and admit she was lying and that the family loves Steve. He was laughing as he told me this and called them delusional, so any small chance of a superficial apology went out the window. The third thing that happened was Jack getting home from the after-school club with a recorder that I'm sorely tempted to shove up the teacher's backside. So all in all, it wasn't a great day. Through talking to people on here, I also realized that Steve has been trying to push Kay and I out of the family. Organizing trips that he knows we would be able to go on. We wouldn't have gone on them anyway, as a weekend away with him sounds worse than a paper cut to the eyeball, and him constantly trying to get my dad away from Kay whenever we are all together. I think this is because he is jealous of Kay and Dad's relationship, as they're very close and go on trips to classic car shows several times a year together, usually with my granddad as well. Anyway, things went quiet for a few days until the weekend. Our town has a big Christmas fair that runs from November through December, and we always go to it with Mom, Dad, Granddad, and Kay's mom. We decided to cheer my mom up a bit to go on Sunday and then out for dinner after. My mom was told that if Sarah or Steve showed up then we would all leave, and she promised they wouldn't be there. Things were a bit awkward at first, but settled after a while. At one point Jack got my mom and dad to take him on the giant snow slide, and as my mom walked back over to us she had tears in her eyes. I pulled her to one side to see what was going on, and she said that whilst waiting in line, Jack had said he was happy Uncle Steve wasn't here. When my mom asked why, he said that Uncle Steve was a bad man. My mom tried to say that he wasn't, but in typical stubborn 4-year-old fashion, he had argued and said he learned in school that people who say mean things all the time are bad people, and Uncle Steve said mean things all the time, so he was a bad man and that he didn't like him. There had been a case of bullying in his class a few weeks ago, and the teacher had done a lesson on how wrong bullying is, so I think that's where this came from. This finally broke through to my mom. If even a 4-year-old can see what a horrible prick the man is, then she had to as well. She said that she felt stuck because she hated Steve and agreed with everything that Kay has said, but she loves Sarah and doesn't want to isolate her. I told her I would always be there for her, but I wasn't putting myself, Jack or Kay through being around Steve again, and she needed to think about what she wants. Not what I want or Dad or Kay or Jack or her parents or Sarah or Steve, but what she wants. She went quiet and then said that Kay's mom had told her she was welcome at hers for Christmas if she wanted to, and that she could decide on Christmas Day if she wanted. Kay's mom would save her a plate. We went back to the group, and a little while later I saw Mom and Kay's mom having a deep discussion whilst walking behind us. Neither will say what they talked about, but Mom seemed a bit happier after their talk. They have also been talking since, as yesterday my mom told me that she will be coming to Kay's mom's for Christmas, and they've been talking about going shopping together next week. When Mom told Sarah after calling me, Sarah predictably lost her mind and said that Mom was choosing us over her. My mum told her she was choosing to have a good Christmas rather than being belittled and made miserable all for the sake of